Om Makradunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvidhavadhitamastama Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha.
Atha Tritiyodhyayaha
Atha Tritiyodhyayaha.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha
Shri Bhagavanuvacha.
Lokesmin Dvividha Nishtha
Lokesmin dvivitha nishtha.
Pura Prokta Maya Nagha
Pura prokta maya naga.
Jnana Yogena Sankyanam
Jnana yogena sankhyanam.
Karma Yogena Yoginam.
Karma yogena yoginam.
Next shloka. Na karmana manarambhat
Na karmana manarambhat.
naishkarmyam purushoshnute
Naishkarnyam purushoshnude.
na cha sanyasanadeva
Nacha samyasana deva.
siddhim samadhigacchati.
Siddhim samadhigachati.
Gacchati, not gacchasi. Because purushaha, third person. Purushaha, kopi purushaha, sanyasanat eva, just by mere sannyasa, siddhim, mokshagatim, na samadhi gacchati, doesn't gain. Not gacchasi, gacchati. Samadhi gacchati, samadhi gacchataha, samadhi gacchanti, samadhi gacchasi, samadhi gacchataha, samadhi gacchata. But not gacchasi. It is pratama purusha, ekavacham. Therefore, the fourth shloka, the next shloka, that is the fourth shloka, we have seen the third shloka, where twofold lifestyles were presented. These twofold lifestyles, it is not Krishna's idea. It's not his suggestion or not his proposal. It is Ukta, Vedokta. It is what is said in the Veda, the Vedic scheme of life, the four lifestyles. One starting with Brahmacharya up to Sannyasa. And for Jnanam, and for Moksha, there is only one means Jnanam. And the last ashrama sannyasa where there is no karma. Therefore, karma yoga for the other three ashramas, where the people can do karma and prepare themselves. They have the space to work and gain antakarana shuddhi, whereas sannyasi doesn't have that. Sannyasi is supposed to be a prepared person, ready for complete commitment to jnanam. So therefore, it's a lifestyle. In choosing the lifestyle, there is a choice. Whether it's sannyasi or grihastha, over it may be. But moksha is only through jnanam. That was very clearly presented. Therefore, there is no jnana karma samuchaya. There is no combination of jnanam and karma. Even though the other than sannyasa ashrama, for they can follow jnanam plus karma, but for moksha, it is not the combination. Is the combination of jnanam and karma doesn't give moksha. It is only jnanam gives moksha. In addition to karma yoga, they pursue jnanam also. They are mumukshus, they are seekers of moksha, therefore they pursue jnanam also. They pursue jnanam also. So therefore it is that because they do karma and they pursue jnanam. So it doesn't mean there is a combination of karma and jnanam because karma has limitations. So with the limited karma being limited, you cannot gain that which is purnaha, that which is complete, unlimited. Karma, no amount of karma can remove ajnana. So therefore, there is no place for karma. There is no place for karma in moksha. Moksha is only through jnana. For gaining jnanam, certain yogyata, certain preparedness is required. That is provided by karma yoga. So therefore, karma yogis, they have the flexibility. They can do karma yoga. They can also pursue jnanam. That privilege they have, but sannyasis, they don't have the privilege of doing karma because they have voluntarily, deliberately given up karma. They are prepared, therefore, to give up. They take to sannyasa ashrama and give up karma. So that is the Vedic vision, Vedic scheme of this lifestyle. Therefore, twofold lifestyles. So therefore, with regard to moksha, what is the means? There is no doubt. It's very clear. Now, in the next shloka, here, Bhagavan Krishna began teaching Arjuna the real meaning of actionlessness. Arjuna doesn't want to act. He wants to take sannyasa. Sannyasa means no action. So what is this actionlessness, naishkarmyam, with reference to gaining moksha that Bhagavan teaches? Na karmanam anarambhat, naishkarmyam purushaha ashnute. Ashnute means labate, prapnoti ityartaha. Na, it should be connected to the kriya padam. Na ashnute, na prapnoti. Purushaha, a person doesn't gain. Karmanam anarambhat, by not undertaking action. Anarambhat. Aramba, performance. Anaramba, non-performance. Not undertaking karma. Naishkarmyam, the state of actionlessness, not gained by Purusha without undertaking karma, the activities. Also by just mere sannyasa, sanyasanat eva siddhim, that is moksha, is not gained by this person. So therefore, this shloka again, it can be misinterpreted. For moksha, karma is required because second line says, just by mere sannyasa, moksha is not gained. Therefore, mere sannyasa means only jnanam. So jnanam is alone, by jnanam alone, moksha is not gained. Therefore, karma is required. Therefore, this line there's a chance to misinterpret. Therefore, jnanam and karma both should be combined for moksha. Iti, wrong interpretation possible. But that is not what Bhagavan Krishna says here. Just by mere sannyasa, just by taking the ashrama sannyasa, just by wearing the sannyasa robe, kashaya vastra, one cannot gain moksha. One has to grow to be a sannyasi. One has to grow to be a sannyasi to pursue jnanam by that person only. Like Arjuna, if he wants to shreyas, moksha. Taking sannyasa will he gain moksha. There is no preparedness. Even if he takes sannyasa, he cannot remain for a minute without doing karma. He is full of rajas. So, sannyasana siddhim na samadhigacchati, that is the meaning. Anyway, we'll see. the person doesn't gain the state of actionlessness. It's a very nice word. Naishkarmyam. Naishkarmyam is moksha ityartha. Naishkarmya siddhi. Sita prajna. The status of being a jnani, sita prajnatvam. Naishkarmya. Jnani doesn't do karma. Jnani doesn't do karma. Even though doing karma, it is only semblance of karma. There is no really karma on the part of jnani. No kartrutvam. It is badita kartrutvam. Karta is sublated. Bhakta is sublated. That state, that jnana avastha, that is called naishkarmyam moksha iti. A person doesn't gain the state of actionlessness by the non-performance of activities. Just by not doing, one will not become actionlessness. One will not get a state of actionlessness. Nor does a person attain success. Success means here moksha, liberation, moksha. Out of mere renunciation, just karma sannyasa. So we have to understand shloka properly. Otherwise, this also can be misinterpreted. We have seen that there are two lifestyles, nishtas, jnana yoga nishta and karma yoga nishta. These two nishtas, two committed lifestyles are for two types of people, sannyasis and the karma yogis, respectively. Karma yogis means it covers all the first three ashramas. All those seeking liberation who are other than sannyasis are karma yogis. Yes. It could be a brahmachari, or it could be a grihastha, or it could be a vanaprastha. It can be anyone. They are karma yogis only. Because they cannot avoid karma. They should not avoid karma. All Veda, Gita karma, Laukika karma, of course, they have to do. So here, Krishna explains why this is so. There is a connection between karma yoga and sannyasa, meaning jnana yoga. So sannyasa means jnana yoga. Because there is commitment to jnanam. So jnana yoga for sannyasi and karma yoga for karma yogis. That's what previous shloka we saw. For jnana yogi means sannyasa. Real Shankaracharya takes jnana yogi to be sannyasi. For jnana yogi, the pursuit of knowledge alone is yoga, for which he or she must have freedom from the hold of raga dveshas. That is what we say, antakarana shuddhi, free from the hold of raga and dvesha. Raga is attachment for the desired things. Dvesha is detachment for the undesired things. Both are problem. So one must be free from raga dveshas. In fact, they dictate most of the time our life. So one must be free from the hold of raga dveshas. Raga dveshas have been described by the Gita itself as the source of all problems. Therefore, raga dveshas must be taken care of before one becomes a sannyasi. If you become a sannyasi without karma yoga, how are you going to neutralize your raga dveshas? How are you going to handle your desires? Binding desires. Raga dveshas. There are ragas, desires, for certain ends. And for a sannyasi, it is impossible to fulfill them, being a sannyasi. Dveshas, those situations that one wants to avoid, will also be there with no possibility of being neutralized. As a karma yogi, however, you have a field in which your raga dveshas can be neutralized. Thus, karma yoga becomes a means for jnana yoga. Jnana yoga becomes a means for moksha. Then what is the connection between karma yoga and moksha? Karma yoga is parampara karana. Indirectly, it becomes a means for moksha. Jnana yoga means jnanam. Jnanam is a means, direct means for moksha. So jnanam is a means, anybody can gain moksha. Whichever ashrama a person may be, he can gain moksha. Therefore, there is a choice with regard to choosing the ashrama. No choice with regard to moksha, because jnana yoga is the means. We have seen how the word sannyasa can have two meanings. One being a lifestyle implying the renunciation of all relationships and activities in order to pursue knowledge alone. The other meaning is that by knowledge one gives up all action. Jnanena karma sannyasa. That is called jnana karma sannyasa. Shankaracharya often took it this way. Sannyasa as an end in itself, knowledge being sannyasa. That is what Shankaracharya takes. Jnanam is sannyasa. This is because sarva karma sannyasa The giving up of all action takes place in knowledge. Really, you can give up. The giving up of action really takes place only when there is jnana. So therefore, jnana is sannyasa. Through knowledge, the doership of the Atma is nullified. Because there is no doership in Atma, even as one performs action, it is not really being done by the Atma. Agam akarta, agam Atma akarta, bhokta. Only when this is clearly understood is there the giving up of all activities through knowledge. Jnanena karma sannyasa. This is what is meant by the word sarva karma sannyasa, which is equivalent to moksha. Nyasa means renunciation. The word nyasa derived from the as dhatu. As means to throw. In the ant one we saw recently, fifth lesson, asyati, to throw. That is dhatu, as dhatu. With a ni upasarga. And the krit pratyaya, gain pratyaya. Adding that you get the word nyasa. So it means to throw. It means give up. It means renunciation. And sannyasa means perfect or complete renunciation. Thus, sarvakarma sannyasa means perfect renunciation of all action. The renunciation being the form of knowledge itself. Therefore, jnanam, sarvakarma sannyasa means jnanam. This knowledge is not possible without a certain mind. Such a mind is accomplished by karma yoga, performing action with the proper attitude, as we saw in the previous chapter, and we will see again in this chapter. This chapter is called karma yoga. So we are going to see the commentary of what we saw, commentary to the introduction to karma yoga in the previous chapter. It's going to be elaborated in this chapter. Karma yoga enables you to give up all karmas in the sense that becomes a means for sarva karma sannyasa. So by doing karma, you give up karma. So that becomes a mean for sarva karma sannyasa. The necessity of karma yoga. With the desire for moksha, one can take to a life of renunciation called vividisha sannyasa we saw. In this type of sannyasa, sarva karma sannyasa has not yet taken place. Here the person takes to sannyasa wanting to know. Therefore, there is no jnanam, therefore there is no sarva karma sannyasa, but certain duties are given up so that knowledge can be pursued. They will have more time, and therefore knowledge can be pursued. However, if the person has not taken care of his or her ragadveshas before taking sannyasas, he or she will not be able to pursue knowledge to the exclusion of all else. Taking sannyasa is always possible because it is open to choice. If you are a mumukshu and there is a choice between a life of renunciation of activity and a life of action, why should you perform activity? Since you are only interested in moksha, which can be gained by the pursuit of knowledge alone, why would you not take sannyasa and pursue knowledge alone? Because if you are not taken care of your ragadveshas, it is not possible to do so. Even if you do commit yourself to the pursuit of this knowledge, other interests will be there based on your ragadveshas. For most people who take to this knowledge, it is not the predominant factor in their lives. There are a lot of other interests as well. Therefore, they are not sannyasis at all. They are just sannyasa for namesake. And some sannyasis, udaranamitam bhagukruta vesham. They just, for the sake of billing, they do act. So therefore, they are not sannyasis at all. One doesn't become a sannyasi just by pursuing knowledge. Sannyasa implies a certain mind that is only possible by karma yoga. To conclude that performing action is of no use to you when what you want is moksha is not correct. Doing karma is useful because without a prepared mind, your pursuit of knowledge will be useless. Without karma yoga, there is no chance of neutralizing your ragadveshas. And if this neutralization doesn't take place to a significant degree, there is no chance to gain the knowledge through which all action is given up. Thus, to take to a life of sannyasa without having dealt with your ragadveshas is meaningless. It's problematic. Knowledge alone negates, dismisses what we'll see. In this shloka, Krishna said that by not performing action, a person doesn't gain the end Naishkarmyam, the state of actionlessness, which is Sarvakarma Sannyasa. Another word for Sarvakarma Sannyasa, another word for Jnanam is Naishkarmyam. There is a Prakarana Grantha, Naishkarmya Siddhihi by Sureshwaracharya. Naishkarmya Siddhihi, state of actionlessness, moksha. The renunciation of all activities is in the form of knowledge alone, because there is no such thing such thing as giving up all activities without giving up doership. Sarvakarma sannyasa means giving up doership. Why not just give up the doership then? Giving up action is not sarvakarma sannyasa. Giving up doership is sarvakarma sannyasa. Doership, giving up doership implies jnana. Why not just give up doership then? But how are you going to give up the doership when you are the very doer? If you think you can give it up just by deciding to do so, who is the one that makes the decision? How are you going to give up the doer who is deciding? Therefore, you are not going to give up doership this way. That is not possible. Giving up the doership, kartritva tyaga. Doership does, however, go away in the wake of knowledge that I am Atma Brahma, which is not the doer. When you understand that Aham Atma Brahma, Brahma, Aham Atma, that is without, it doesn't do any action, that is knowledge. By that knowledge, doership is given up. Doership is dropped. This knowledge alone negates doership in the person. In the person, it is better, not in the Atma. Atma doesn't have doership. Nothing else will do it. To think that surrendering is another way to reach God is certainly not correct. For how will you surrender the one who surrenders? You are still left with having to give up the doership. So giving up the doership is what is sannyasa, sarvakarma sannyasa. So for giving up the doership, one has to be a doer and do karma yoga. That is what the shloka says. Just by non-performing the actions, one cannot gain Vaishkarmyam, moksha. A relevant verse of the Mahabharata is as follows. This is shloka is from Mahabharata. It's a beautiful shloka. Tyaja dharmam adharmam cha ube satyanrate tyaja. Ube satyanrate tyakta yena tyajasi tat tyaja. Tyaja comes many times. Tyajdatu, give up. Dharmam adharmam, you have to split that. Dharmam adharmam is a dharmam adharmam. Dharmam, tyaja is lot lakara. Tyajatu, tyajatam, tyajantu. Tyaja, tom tyaja. You give up. So you, the karta, you have to supply. Tyaja is lot lakara, imperative. Tom tyaja, what? Dharmam adharmam cha. Dharma as well as adharma, you give up. Dharmam, Ditya Vibhakti Ekavachana. Karma. You give up dharma and adharma. Ube dharmam, adharmam, tyaja. Then ube, both, ube means both. Then satya anrate. Satya anrata. Satya is real, truth. Anrata is unreal. So that concept of real and unreal, that you give up tyaja. Satya anrate is like palam pale. Ditya Vibhakti Dvivachana. Tvam satya anrate tyaja. Ube satyanrute tyaktva, having given up the both that are real and unreal, yena tyajasi taja, that by which you give up, that you give up. That is the meaning. That is the shloka from Mahabharata, Shanti Parva, says, give up dharma and adharma, right and wrong, good and bad, go beyond them. It means don't just give up the right and do the wrong. To give up the wrong and do the right is only the first stage. Give up the right also. The very concepts of right and wrong must be given up. Because the right and wrong, when the concept is there, then doership is there. So the concept of right and wrong must be given up. This is for the Jnani. Sannyasi talked about Jnani, not for the ordinary people. For them, they should give up wrong and do right. That is for the public, for the mass. But here for Jnanam, the concept of right and wrong must be given up. So you have to understand the context. All karma is to be given up. Both punya karma and papa karma have to be given up. And that giving up is what we call sannyasa. So therefore, this is sannyasa. Sannyasi is talked about here. A sannyasi doesn't perform action that would create papa, nor does she does action for the sake of punya. Neither wants punyam, he neither wants papa. What does he want? He wants moksha, freedom from both. If punya is a gold chain, papa is a iron chain. Both are chains, both bind a person. Therefore, giving up both punya and papa karmas, the person becomes a renunciant, a monk. Having done this, all that is done, all that is then done in the form of some inquiry, vichara, with reference to the person's concept of what is real and what is unreal. Eventually, these also have to be given up. These concepts also given up. Given up means in the wake of jnana, not that it just drops as he removes his vastra dress. It is given up, drops from the person. Suppose someone says that he or she has given up all concepts of reality, both empirical and subjective reality, meaning that the person no longer cares for the empirical world or the false values he or she once had. The person no longer thinks that money or anything else is going to liberate him or her. In other words, he or she has become dispassionate towards everything that exists within the empirical reality, what we call the world. Having discovered this inner dispassion, the person now has the notion, I am a sannyasi, I am dispassionate. In other words, the person is still there in the form of the ego, ahankara, which says, I have given up everything. This ahankara also has to be given up. And this can be done only through jnanam. So that this is the second stage of giving up, highest stage. Giving up in the beginning is giving up the possessions, giving up the sense of possession. That is what is sannyasa, that is through jnanam only. That's what sarva karma sannyasa. In fact, you don't give up the ahankara. How can you, when you are the ahankara, if only in the wake of knowledge that you are not the ahankara, does it go away? Because it is not true. Ahankara is not true, therefore when jnanam comes, ahankara goes away. Like the darkness goes away in the wake when the sun arises. Similarly, ahankara, ajnanam goes away. Along with ahankara goes the doership and all other actions too. By absence of doership and therefore all actions, it should not be construed that the one who has knowledge of the self will be like a stone, not performing any action. In spite of all actions, the jnani doesn't take the self to be a doer. Agam na karta, kadapi karta na bhavati, agam atma. That knowledge is there. Therefore, for the jnani, the doer is a self, but the self is not the doer. This should be understood. The doer is self, but the self is not the doer. In this sense, sarvakarma sannyasa is a state of actionlessness, naishkarmya, the form of knowledge. Thus, self-knowledge and naishkarmya are identical. The word naishkarmya is used because as long as karma is there, you are bound to whatever body you have at any given time and place. Even in dream, you have some kind of physical body of your own, albeit set up by your own thought. All bodies, ethereal, celestial, or corporeal, are all because of karma alone. Karma makes you identify with a particular body in order to go through the experiences that are the result of punya and papa, themselves the result of previous actions performed by you. As long as karma is there, samsara, the life as we know it, is there. And as long as samsara is there, karma is there. Karma will remain as long as ignorance of oneself remains. It's a beautiful explanation. Shloka will continue. Actionlessness is not giving up action. We will read in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om
धन्यवादः.
Dhanyavada.